This is Monay.
What up, though? This is Travis Miller.
And you're listening to another episode of the
Becoming One podcast.
So, y'all, we just want to welcome you back to the show. If you are a first-time listener, a first-time viewer, we want to let you know that we appreciate you for taking the time out of your day, out of your schedule to watch or listen to this podcast at this very second. You didn't have to do it, but you did, and we appreciate you for it. If you are a returning guest, a returning listener, a returning watcher, thank you so much for being a part of our community, for joining us for these conversations, and tuning in to see all of this going on next to me. So, I'm going to let y'all know, if you got any questions, comments, concerns, or you want to share stories, you are always free to email us at becomingonepodcast@gmail.com. If you want to share some feedback or tell us a funny story or ask us a question directly, you can actually do that through our Anchor app. So if you are following us on Anchor, you can do that on Anchor and leave us a message, or you can leave us a message in our DMs on Instagram as well. So, did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'm tired and I'm kind of loopy right now, so I don't really know what y'all finna get, but whatever it is, you gonna get it. That's what she said.
Oh my gosh. Anywho, so y'all, unless you have been completely detached and unfollowing all things on social media, a few weeks back there was some feathers that got ruffled a little bit.
Was that weeks already?
It will be by the time they listen to this.
Okay.
There was a situation that transpired, what is it? An entanglement of sorts. That's what Jada Pinkett called it on the Red Table Talk. So Jada Pinkett had Gwyneth Paltrow on the Red Table Talk, and during that conversation, they were talking about relationships and communication and intimacy and just the journey of trying to maintain a healthy sex relationship during marriage. And Jada's comments, in my opinion, went through some crazy form of like a game of telephone, lost in translation. It's like watching a foreign film and trying to read the subtitles. Like, you can kind of get the gist of what's going on, but you're going to miss all of the important details in the mix of all the translations.
I don't even know if it was telephone. I think people just didn't listen to it. I think that there was just a headline and it was it.
I agree that people did not listen to what was said. Basically, what the internet took and ran with was saying that she was communicating that she was basically having trouble in her sex life and that she was basically dissatisfied. So you know how memes go. You know how people do when they create the little pictures and whatnot, basically saying that she's just like dragging wheel and she's just always saying something stupid in front of the camera or like constantly embarrassing this man. And that is not what she said at all.
Nope.
That is not what she said.
No, she was basically just being real. And what's funny about it is that we always talk about we want somebody to be real with us. Mm-hmm. Don't nobody talk about marriage. We don't really know the inside of it. When people do, people start fussing. So that she's telling us her real story. Mm-hmm. She's telling us that she has issues. She's had problems. And it's come into her marriage via X, Y, and Z. In this case, she was talking about her sexual relationship with her husband. Mm-hmm. Y'all already know the entanglement that she had with, what's the boy name? August in the past. So she's being open about these things, and now y'all fussing at her. They're talking about she dragging wheel. I just think she being honest, to be honest with you.
And honestly, I think part of the reason a lot of people, because there were people who I even had conversations with, they didn't listen to nothing she said. They didn't watch the episode. They just kind of went based off of what their belief is about their relationship, Will and Jada, what their belief is about Jada as an individual. And because of the messenger, they completely ignored, missed, or didn't even listen to the message.
And how long they been together?
20 years, I think. Because, well, no, it might be longer than that, because she said they've been together since they were like 22.
Yeah, it's
28 years. I think, ain't she almost 50 or something like that? I'm going to look it up while you make your comment.
Look, all I know is there are people that will get bored in a relationship in less than a year. So they have been in a relationship.
23 years they've been married.
So the people that were born in 2000, they were in a relationship before they were born. Mm-hmm. There's people that get bored within a year of a relationship. So they've been doing each other for 23 years.
Mm-hmm.
23 years.
Well, not the same person because they got their own stuff going on.
I ain't getting into the
but
rest
you
of
know
it.
what we're
All
saying.
I'm saying is like you have to be able to communicate effectively to be able to work together in order to make that work for 23 years. I'm not saying it's not impossible. I'm not even saying that it's extremely hard.
Mm-hmm.
But what I am saying is it's not something that you just wake up and it's flowers every day.
Right.
So
I don't know, and it's interesting because part of me
you don't even know what if they're in their 40s. You don't even know yourself in your early 20s.
Ooh.
So what you started with liking, you
don't even know what you like in your 20s.
Well, she might not even like the same thing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So what she started liking or what she thought she liked in her 20s, maybe she did like it then. But then she got to 25, 30 and she didn't like it. But this is what we've been doing and I did like it. Now I didn't say nothing. And now you're 5 years in. Now you just been unsatisfied for how long? And then you finally do say something and it blows up or whatever. And then you try to get back on the same page. It happens.
And then the whole level of, because they have children. So it's like your sex life looks like this in the beginning. And then you have kids. And then there's that period after where it's like, I have to completely relearn my body now. Things might have moved, shifted, changed, yada, yada, yada. And okay, now you get into a groove, you have another kid. Every time you get pregnant, there's a possibility that your body's going to change again. I mean, everything's already moving and shifting around, but you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to move where. And so all of this idea of liking something, being turned on by certain things, being turned off by certain things, and then you're growing and learning. So not only is your body changing, but you're trying to constantly learn this changing body, trying to get this other person involved in learning this changing body, and then the stuff you like changing on top of that.
Everything's changing. Everything.
Hormones and everything else.
And the man changes too. He had his peak. And I don't know what Will is. I ain't that deep into the brother. But after a while for men, their sexual drive starts to drop. And I don't know how much is different for each man depending on like the medically and their physical body or whatever, even their mental state. But it drops. So there's all these changing things going on that they kind of have to counteract in order to have a healthy relationship.
And I don't know this statistically or like, I don't know this. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, when it comes to a man's sexual peak or when it starts to go on the downward end, I feel like that kind of intersects or crosses when women's starts to go upward a little bit. Because I thought I heard or read something about like women in their late 30s or in their 40s is when they start to hit their sexual peak.
Well, I mean, it kind of has to cross somewhere. And I think it's different for a lot of people because some women's sex drives is like way up there.
Well, yeah.
And then some men's sex drives is way down. Like, will it ever cross? I don't know. But if we were to say one is high and one is low, then if the one is rising, the other is dropping, it's going to cross somewhere. But I don't really know they dynamic like that.
Right.
Right now, Jada the one that looked like she running that bedroom.
Oh my God.
On my end. That's what it looked like to me. However, I don't know. What?
Well, when you say running the bedroom, it's just like, well, what does that even mean?
I mean, she in charge. When that door closed, Jada's in charge. Will turns into a yes ma'am. Yes ma'am. You want me to do what?
But isn't it
yes,
usually?
ma'am.
Isn't that the picture that usually gets painted? Like the man.
Who knows?
No, I'm not of their relationship. Just kind of men kind of not bend to like a woman's every desire or whatever. But it's kind of like, well, whatever she wants in order to get her to
Nah, I think that in general in society, I think that would be better than what it is because in general in society, it's still more towards the man's pleasure. You know what I mean? When you talk about pornography,
sorry y'all.
When you talk about pornography, you're talking about relationships in general. Everything is pointed towards the man getting pleasure. You know what I mean? Even when you're kind of learning about sex, it's always like just straight to intercourse. Nobody's really. I don't know what they're doing in sex ed nowadays. I know people get in trouble back to back to back to back to back to back to back. But when I was in school, people weren't really talking about foreplay. When you with your friends, you're not talking about foreplay. You're just talking about straight intercourse, straight Peen and vagine. I don't know where this is going, so that's what y'all get. Peen and vagine is the basic conversation that people have about sex, and it's never about the woman's pleasure. Now, in today's world, people are having more of these conversations, like with Love, Sex, and Goop, the show that we just watched. People are having more of these conversations about how to talk in order for both people to get pleasure. But it's in my opinion, things are still kind of focused on the man's pleasure rather than the woman.
And for those of you who didn't catch what he just said, so there is a show on Netflix called Love, Sex, and Goop, and actually Gwyneth Paltrow is the one who started Goop.
That's why she was on the Red Table Talk.
Yeah.
It was a whole advertising thing. That's what advertisement looks like nowadays. You go do a podcast or interview with somebody.
Pretty much.
And you talk about a general topic that has to do with what you're doing. So that's why she was there.
And so she started Goop a long time ago. It had nothing to do with the Netflix show that was on. But Goop is her own separate thing. But this one was just surrounding love and sex. And so I appreciate the show because it really dived deep into this world of exploration. Nobody talks about exploration or understanding all of
what you mean exploration?
So usually, so I'll use one example from the show. So on the show, she explained the anatomy of a clitoris.
Right.
Most people, when you hear or think of the word clitoris, there's one picture in your mind. It's just the little thing under the hood, and that's it. So she had this little, basically a puppet, and she pulled out of it, and it had all the vulva and all that stuff, and she pulled the whole thing out, and it's actually, I don't know how big it is, but it's actually like a whole piece of an organ. It's not just this small little tiny thing that looks like a popcorn kernel. It's an actual full organ that's like got a front, sides, back, and all that other stuff. And so she was explaining, well, not Gwyneth Paltrow, but I think the lady's name is Jaya. She was explaining how over the course of history, the female anatomy, certain parts of it were taken out of textbooks. And so now what we get is just the certain parts of the reproductive organs. You don't get the whole...
Which is crazy to even... I didn't know that.
She sat and said there are diagrams of the brain, there are diagrams of this, there's diagrams of that. Why is it that we don't have this diagram and aren't taught your reproductive system?
She said that they felt like sex was giving the women power. So they stopped talking about it so that they could keep the power for themselves. She said the colonizers came and took sex from women. So people didn't just take culture, they took sex. Which is kind of wild to think about. It's weird. Like how you erase that from like culture?
Well, in certain cultures, certain cultures were very in tune with their, as they described in the show, their erotic, sensual, sexual side. And so once you start to see the freedom and the liberty and the power that people have when they start to really rest in and embrace that, it's like, oh no, y'all doing too much. Let's go ahead and back it up a little bit because y'all being a little extra.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm glad that it's coming back now as far as people talking about it. I was talking to Jared Boone today, and he was, we talked about the show a little bit, and we were talking about how it's good for people to talk more about it now and be open because people have a lot of issues that we don't know about. Even the fact that people didn't like what Jada said, people have issues similar to Jada, and they might be afraid to talk about it, but Jada isn't. So she's going to talk about it. Yo, our marriage got issues. I have issues. These are how my issues have affected our marriage, right? These are how this is how my past has affected my marriage. Yada, yada, yada. Let's talk about it.
And the beauty in her actually going on the red table and having that conversation is to show people what it looks like to, I don't even want to say expose, but what it looks like to really uncover what real work looks like in marriage in terms of communicating with your partner. Part of the reason why she was explaining that, they've been married for X amount of time, and so, the bedroom is a certain situation for them. It's because of that communication piece, because of all of these changes and learning and growing and developing and changing. That's an ongoing conversation you have to have. And a lot of people assume, like she said on the red table, actually in the interview when she was talking to Gwyneth Paltrow, she said, if you love me, you should know. And I think a lot of people have that notion that, well, you should know what I like. You should know how to please me. You should know what feels good to my body. When a lot of people, and spoiler alert, if you have not watched Love, Sex, and Goop, you might want to go ahead and hit pause now. No, I'm about to use an example. So you might want to hit pause now and come back after you watch it. But there was a couple on there, and the wife said, am I going to have a baby before I have an orgasm? And so even just having that conversation, like, some people don't know their bodies well enough to be able to coach somebody even through or to certain places or spots to help with the orgasm or to be able to even know if they've had one or not. And so when you don't,
she ain't know. Like she didn't know her own body,
right?
So how could she coach?
But still, culturally speaking, in today's in American society, it's like, if you can't make a woman have an orgasm, or if you can't do X, Y, and Z, then it's almost like, well, what good are you? Of course she's gonna go out and try to find it somewhere else, or of course he's gonna go out and try to get it somewhere else, because people don't know their bodies enough to even be able to say, well, I don't know if this feels good, or I don't really know what feels good. The conversation's not being had.
Yeah, and I guess maybe I'm just weird, but that's kind of how I've always thought about. If y'all see us, let's pause for the cause right now. Y'all see us like drinking a lot of liquids, water, and what is this I'm drinking? I think it's mango or something like that.
I thought it was peach.
Peach. It's because we had somebody bring some sickness into the land.
I didn't bring anything.
She brought some sickness into the land, so we got a little something, like a little scratch in our throats. So
we don't have COVID. Just putting that out.
It's not COVID. It's just a regular cold. But somebody brought something into the land. I'm just, somebody.
It was not me.
Brought something into the land.
There's someone sitting next to me, actually. It's that person.
So that's what y'all. If y'all see it, hey man, we tried. So,
yeah, I apologize because I'm very stuffy, so I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That's the best I can do.
What was I talking about?
Communication, orgasms.
So she didn't even know. She didn't understand, like her own self. Like she had to learn. And I think that I was kind of weird, because, or maybe I'm not weird. I don't know. But the way I've always thought of it, is that is what the sexual relationship is all about. Is y'all learning each other, and it's not just, okay, let's just get right to it. But actually, who is this person? What makes them tick? What makes them, I don't know how deep you want to go, but you know what I'm saying?
Go deep.
What makes them
Our
happy?
Podcast.
What makes them happy? You heard? So that's how I've always thought of it. And so even for that to come up, I was like, bro, that couple pretty brave for her to say, man, I've been in the relationship with this man for I don't know how many years it was or whatever, and look, I ain't trying to give you no baby until my poom poom is singing.
But hold on, let's back up even more. Let's zoom out a little bit. So, if I'm not mistaken, both partners in that particular relationship had been with other people before. So for her to say, am I going to have an orgasm before I have a baby? So whoever or however many people she was with before him, I don't think she had an orgasm.
40
even
like
he was 40, I believe.
Okay.
I don't know how old she was. But if I understood her correctly, I don't even think she had an orgasm prior to that. So a lot of times people will come into sexual relationships if they've been with other folks and say, well, this is how the previous person or people responded, and they seem to like it. They seem to think it went pretty well. So if I just keep doing this is what feels good to women. This is what feels good to men. And so I think because there's this idea or this thought that this feels good, doing this particular thing works, there is a lag in conversation or in communication about what can be done for an individual person, because they may already have this thought process of, well, I already know what feels good. I already know what will get so-and-so going, yada, yada, yada. So we don't even need to talk about that. And so bringing that conversation up, it might even be like a little form of embarrassment or something like, well, I don't really want to say it. I don't like what he's doing, because then, I don't want him to feel bad.
Man, you better speak up. That's all I know. You better speak up.
Closed mouths don't get fed.
Closed mouth don't get fed. More ways than one.
Oh, my goodness.
You know what I'm saying? In more ways than one.
So anywho, so it was just really interesting the whole show because, excuse me, y'all, hold on. They had lots of different couples on there, and so that particular couple just had to understand that, just like there's that book, The 5 Languages of Love. In this particular show, the lady named Jaya, she has developed her own
The 5 Languages of Love,
her own like erotic blueprints. What? I'm equating it. It's gonna make sense.
Go ahead.
Anywho, so there's a book called The 5 Languages of Love where you can kind of understand what your love language is, know what your partner's love language is, and so you get to speak each other's language as you learn about one another and yourself. So this lady named Jaya, at least I hope I'm saying her name right on the show, has these like erotic blueprints. Basically, the 5 love languages, but for your sex life. And so what that couple ended up finding out is that they were speaking different languages. But then they also found out that they had some things that were in common. They just presented a little bit different. And so it's the same thing in terms of communicating, because you get to figure out and discover and find, okay, this is what works for this person. Just like if somebody's love language was words of affirmation, but all they were getting was gifts, it's like there's a lag in translation and communication here. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was actually pretty dope for them to actually go through the process of discovering that together, though.
Yeah, and I think that's how it should be. I've never heard of erotic love languages. I've never heard of that. There's always been categories that people have broken stuff down into, as far as like kinks and yada yada yada.
Oh, like that, yeah.
Yeah, but I've never heard it like
erotic blueprints.
Yeah, like it. She made it sound like scientific.
It is.
Well, I mean, hers is her. Like her practice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the way that of course it's scientific, but her theory and her practice made it sound scientific as far as what the categories and such are. Mm-hmm. So it was good. It was good. It made the couples happier. People were able to get through a lot of emotional trauma and stress.
Yeah.
They did a little bit of trauma tracing, is what I've known it to be called. The way they did it was a little out there for me. Yeah. But, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. It's still the same theory. It was
interesting to watch.
Yeah. But it was good. It was good. It helped. The relationships were helped. You could see how people's issues had presented themselves in the bedroom, which, again, is the perfect place to know if your relationship has any type of issues. If there's issues in the bedroom, there's issues in the relationship. Mm-hmm. So whether it's financial, whether it's emotional, the past, whatever, is going to show up in the bedroom. I'll say 9 times out of 10, because some people are just like, I don't care about none of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just here.
And I thought it was even dope to see how, when it was another couple, I can't remember their names, but you could see like the wife tensing up, like as the husband went to go touch her, because they were having so much tension in their relationship. So as soon as he went to go touch her body tensed up. Or when he would do something or try something, she'd immediately follow up with some type of criticism, which doesn't encourage somebody to follow up with that and try to do something new or different. But it's just kind of like, oh, you're immediately shutting this person down.
Yeah, I kind of wish that they went more into that couple. You're talking about like the
wife was German and the husband, I think, was like Caribbean or something like that.
Yeah, like I wish they went more into him, because there's something going on with him, I think, to the point where like there has to be a reason why he is that way, because he seemed like more rigid as far as, okay, let me present myself, let me stack up so that you will accept me. Like there has to be some type of reason why he is looking so much into her affirmation and approval. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like he wanted to be presented and admired as like this king, but you're not really walking like one. Like you walking like it's like is this okay?
They described the dynamic as a little boy trying to get the mom's approval. And
that's what he was doing. You know, it was like when he touched her, he's...
If y'all not watching this on video, you gotta watch this.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, what are you doing, brother? Like y'all married, like got 2 kids.
He didn't know how to touch her.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, Like you could see it in his mind. Whenever they gave him instructions, he did like a.
But you also have to take
go.
into consideration though. Let's examine the way she spoke to him every time he did something. So, granted, I'm just no. Listen. So, if he were to do something,
to get the man out.
I'm not. I'm just saying if he were to do something and her response would have been a little bit more or less of a tear down.
If you're being abused.
What? Anyway, I'm just saying she could have been a little bit more kinder in her response because she was very critical of him. I'm just saying it probably made him more rigid and like, all right, I don't want to do nothing wrong. He just
whatever was going on at that house, like he was moving fearful. He was like as if he like didn't want, like he was like preparing himself for her to lash out at him.
Well, that's what she did.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on now. She wasn't doing that much.
She was, well, first of all, there were people around, there were cameras. So if she does do that, she ain't about to do it on the show. One.
She wasn't doing that much.
She was just being critical, that's all I'm saying. She could have been a little bit nicer.
I want to know more about that couple. Because they stuck to, just so y'all know, names, if I ain't with you all the time, the names really don't stick. So I know faces, I know couples, yada, yada. But they stuck to more of like the, don't cancel me. They stuck to more like the lesbian couple. I don't know another way to kind of stick it out there. But anyway, they stuck to more of the lesbian couple and the couple that had...
The black couple.
The black couple. So that's really like the main two. Mm-hmm. And I guess there was two lesbian couples.
There were.
But the younger.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
I don't know if the other one technically would be considered lesbian because...
It might have been non-binary.
Yes. So I don't know what category that would go in.
Yeah.
Look, sorry, I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, I really want somebody to come in and teach me more so that I better understand. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But they stuck to these two, and which was great. But there was something about that guy that's fearful to talk to his wife or even touch her. I don't know. I want to know more about them. Mm-hmm. So if y'all see it, if y'all watch it, let us know what you think too. And we could talk about it on Instagram, probably. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be honest with you. If you go talk about it on Instagram, you go talk to Monay. That's the real. So if you want me to know something, I try.
I'll get him on. I'll pull him on.
I'm gonna try. I promise I will. But more than likely, 8 times out of 10, probably 9 times out of 10. Right now, 10 times out of 10.
I get him in.
You gonna be talking to Monay.
But
we can talk about it on Instagram.
One more thing, though. So I know that there was the lesbian couple, but what I thought was really interesting was their, I guess, not detachment, but their lack of connectiveness and knowledge of their own bodies and how to navigate it or make things feel a certain way.
What you mean?
So during their time, they were working with, I want to say the lady is like a sexologist. Basically helping people to navigate their bodies to find what feels good. And so I guess one of the women, she always felt pain felt pain with penetration. And the other one, she wasn't comfortable with her body at all. She didn't like the way she physically looked, none of that. And so I think just culturally speaking, we don't really talk about what it looks like to get to know your body. Outside of this whole, I need to know, knowing the anatomy and all of these other pieces, when you get married, and a lot of times people say, well, you get married and, you finally have sex and all this other stuff, boom, boom, but why are we not making it an educational piece to explain to people certain things that are happening or what it looks like when certain things happen? Because the girl was having an orgasm but didn't know what was going on. She was like, my body feels numb. Why am I shaking? So literally, she's never heard of when you have an orgasm, these are things that can happen to you.
I think both of them grew up Catholic.
Right. But I'm just saying, even in their adult life, they didn't know.
Yeah, but when you grow up, like, in something, mm-hmm. In a doctrine, when you grow up in a religion like that, and I don't mean like that as, like pointing the finger at Catholicism.
Culturally speaking.
But when you grow up in a religion, like that stuff is deeply rooted mm-hmm. because it's attaching itself to your emotions. It's attaching itself to your thinking. and your spirit. So I believe that we're all spiritual beings. So we have our body, we have our mind, and we have our spirit, right? So to attach yourself to all three, that's literally your entire life is intertwined in this system of Catholicism, or like for me, Christianity, right?
And one girl was she grew up Jehovah's Witness, I think.
Something like that. But when something like that is intertwined into your being, so to be able to try to break away from that, it could literally feel like you're tearing your life apart.
Yeah.
So you have to go back and, okay, well, this is what my mom told me. Was my mom wrong? This is how my dad always. This is where all my principles came from. Was my dad wrong? If my mom and dad were wrong, are my principles wrong? And then you go into my friendships that you built, and the advice you go over your friends. So it's deeply rooted into who you are, what you do, how you feel about yourself, and then to grow up in those. I can't speak for the LGBTQI plus. Am I saying that right?
I think so.
If I'm not saying it right, let me know. Seriously, I want to know. But I can't speak for that community. But to grow up in Catholicism or Christianity, and then to get to the point where you're in your adulthood where you break away, and you're not saying that you have to break away from that community, because I do not believe that you do. That's a conversation again for another time. But to break away from that community and to stand in this person that you are, right? To stand here and say that this is who I am. That in and of itself could also be like terrifying for you.
Yeah.
Right? So both of them had to go through that. And then she talked about her mom, like, as a child, you love your parents.
Yeah.
Well, as adults, you love your parents too. It's just different. Yeah, you still love them. You're always a child. Y'all know what I'm saying.
I know.
Anyway, so as a child, it's like there is this adoration that children have for their parents that changes in your adulthood, right? Like your children almost put you at the same level as God when you're in the house. So to then for her, she spoke about how her mom said, I ain't even coming to your marriage. Whenever y'all get married, I'm not coming. I will not be there. So this person that you
or
once...
how she grew up like saying like, oh, those two girls like each other, that's disgusting.
Yeah. So for this person that you once had on this pedestal, I'm not saying that your children should look at you as God, because they shouldn't. Athara started calling me Jesus. And I don't know, I'm like, God, please forgive her. Because
maybe it's the locks. Maybe she saw a picture of like a black Jesus.
I don't know, but I keep telling her I'm not Jesus, so don't strike me down.
She trying to say you got Jesus
I ain't telling her to say that. But for your parents to be on this level, right? For your parents to be on this level that you put them on as a child, and then to say, I don't want no parts of your life, that could F you up.
Yeah.
For real. Like big time.
I can't imagine. Oh, Lord, help us. Can't imagine. So, going through that process, exploring all of that, discovering all of that, I can only imagine how hard that might have been for them. And so just, as a couple, as individuals who were on that show, just the whole idea of having this journey of communication and having to explore and discover and have things change and then discover again and have things change again and having to re-explore and re-examine and re-explain. I think that's part of the work of being in a relationship, of being married, that people don't talk about. And then when people say that, oh, nobody's talking about it, and then people do talk about it, there's this big uproar that people are talking about it. And so I don't think that it's to anyone's benefit that this is a topic that people remain ignorant in. I'm all for normalizing the conversation and just having people educated, whether that be just knowing your body, whether that be figuring out how to have that conversation with your significant other, just normalizing it and allowing it to be a part of normal daily communications and normal daily interactions with your significant other.
How many times do you say normal?
Normal.
Normalizing normal.
I'm reading off of cue cards. Normal.
So now she lying.
Just joking.
That's
Anyway,
reality.
all I'm saying is I don't think it needs to be made into this big, huge deal like it's an issue because it's not.
Yeah. And just to recap, so
It's normal.
anyway, people have issues. People have problems, and those problems are going to leak into your relationship. Whether you Jada Pinkett Smith and people are going to drag you because you have problems and you talk about them, could happen, whatever. Or you just like a regular person or people.
I'm normal.
And you have issues.
Like him.
Again. And you have issues that leak into your relationship. It happens. You know, we can all talk about it. We're adults here. Let's have the conversation. Let's get through these issues instead of ignoring them. Because when you ignore them, they just grow. Then you end up you're a 40-year-old person who's married and you've never had an orgasm in your marriage. Why? Because you ain't talk about it. You ain't say what you said. Yada yada yada. Or every time you have sex, it hurts. Who knows? So talk about it. We can get through it. It's better to bring something up and be uncomfortable than to remain silent and never comfortable.
Ooh, that's a quote right there. Quote him. So, I don't know what he did. I'm going to have to go back and watch. So, y'all, if you did not do this already, before you click the little X in the corner, make sure that you are subscribed to our channel. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you turn on notifications and share this video with someone if you're watching on YouTube. And of course, if you have any stories you want to share, any comments, I already said it in the beginning, but I'm going to say it again. Email us, hit us up in our DMs, hit us up in our message box on Anchor. We want to hear what you got to say, okay?
Also, we are opening our calendars up for group and one-on-one coaching sessions. You can see that on our website. That's themillerinitiative.com. You already gave them the email?
Yes, I did.
So email us.
I gave them the podcast email. If you want to email us for coaching, or you want him to or me to come and speak, say some words, you can do that at themillerinitiative@gmail.com.
Yep, send us an email. If you don't want to be coached or whatever, you just want to have a conversation real quick, still send us an email. We can do a intro session and leave it at that if you just want a conversation. But whatever you do, if you need help, reach out. We'll make it work. So go to our website, see what we have to offer, sign up, reach out. Let's get work. Let's get busy. That's what she said.
Ha. I saw that coming.
You know, I was trying to say something else, but again, y'all, I'm kind of foggy right now in my head. So my mind mixed my words up.
Let's wrap this up so you can go to sleep. So, y'all, once again, this is Monay.
Certain person's fault. She said her name, too. Monay's fault. And I'm Travis Miller.
And you just watched another episode of the
Becoming One podcast.
All right, y'all. Be easy.
Bye.